Yes, I am Matt Burns. I am one half of the host of The Burning Truth, and you might have probably just picked up that I'm only one speaking at this moment in time. That is due to the fact that, unfortunately, for this week, I am doing this solo by myself. I am the for this week, and in case anybody was wondering why John Bloor isn't on this week's episode, there is a valid reason why he isn't on the episode. Now, I've got in touch with him today. I ended up having a bit of a chat with him, and we both agreed that today he is taking a day off today. Now, a lot of people are probably saying, well, with you having the equipment, are you running it? Are you in charge? Is it just me? No, there's a good valid reason. Both of us came to the conclusion that he needs to have a day off, and it's not just any day off. We are both classifying it as it should be, a mental health day off. Now, at this moment in time, John Bloor has stated to me that unfortunately for today, his mental health hasn't been in the correct frame of mind, and I even double checked with him if he wanted me to state this on the episode, and he's given full permission to state it, to basically get the message out there that it is okay to be not okay, and that it is if you're not okay, then don't it's not it's not all bad as such. It is okay to be not okay, and that to also push the fact that mental health should be a topic that we do discuss. And with that being said, that is the reason why John Bloor isn't on this week's episode. He is effectively having a mental health day off, and hopefully he should be back on next week's episode. So, if anybody wants to send any messages in for John Bloor, we would massively, the Burning Truth would massively appreciate that, and I'm sure John Bloor would be very grateful if you were to do that. But for this week, the show must go on. I'm here to basically discuss do some of the wrestling talks, and also discuss some interesting topics for this week. And I've got quite a bit of a challenge on my own. But anyway, before I get on to that, I'm just going to state the following broadcast. It needs to, I've got to go through the audio disclaimer, which is basically to state the following. Some of the topics that we do discuss may be unsuitable for younger listeners and anybody who may find the subjects offensive, or as such may find certain language inappropriate. Just in case if there is any swearing, there may be some certain language that may be unsuitable for young audience listeners, and anybody who finds such language untasteful. Please be understand that if it does slip up, there will be the occasional one, and some of the topics that may be discussed may you may not be to your fancy, or maybe you may think is unsuitable. But with that being said, and I'll even throw in the extra disclaimer that John Bloor normally does, his one per week, is that the following program may contain strobe lighting effects, even though we are a broadcast. I thought I'd fit that in. Anyway, for this week, we're going to be majorly discussing the fact of the NXT TakeOver results very, very briefly in regards to who won the predictions. We're going to be discussing the greatest wrestling match ever, Backlash predictions, even though it should just be called WWE Backlash. I just like how WWE are pushing the fact that the greatest wrestling match more than the actual title of the wrestling show, of the event that is occurring tonight. And then after that will be probably where we're discussing our, possibly next week's episode subject. But we'll get to that. But before we get on to that, I just thought I would just address one of our regular discussions that we're going to probably be mentioning almost at this moment in time, which is still a very, very valid case that we need to be bringing up, and that is in the case of Black Lives Matter. Yes, the Burning Truth still 100% fully supports this message, and we hope, and the offer for anybody who is in regards to being affected by basically being that was affected by the cause for this to be, for this statement to be around. If anybody wants to voice their opinion, shout out their voice as loud as possible on this broadcast, then all they got to do is just get in touch with us, and we'd be more than willing to give them the time to be able to throw whatever they need to get off their chest in regards to that subject. But anyway, I just thought to point that out, and on top of that, I just thought I'd just point out some of the classy things that certain WWE wrestlers have been doing, essentially. And I've got to say, New Day, Big E, and Kofi, massive respect for you, especially for the armbands you've been wearing, and the show of support that has been suddenly coming out, and Mustafa Ali for putting in some of his insight in, I believe it was on Sports Illustrated. That I can honestly say it's absolutely massively empowering in regards to showing that using your platform to basically help elevate, basically stating they're basically stating that our voice may not, our voice is important, but we're going to use our platform to push somebody else's voice, and it is a massively powerful message. So 100% respect in regards to that, and that is where I'm going to leave it for that at this moment in time. But we'll hopefully mention even more good news for Black Lives Matter, hopefully for the coming for the future, and we hope that message does get across to everybody. And I know there is a few people stating that all lives matter. Of course it does. All lives does matter, but at this moment in time, Black Lives Matter are being massively affected in such a way that their voice does need to be heard. And as I've already stated already in regards to this broadcast, or even podcast, if anybody wants to voice their opinion or wants a message to go out to the public, through the Burning Truth, we even if they didn't want to even put it on an episode, they want to just be able to just get it out on the air, just for everybody to listen, just so they can voice their opinion, let us know, and we will aim to do our very, very, very best to get this arranged. Right, moving on to NXT TakeOver in Your House results. Now, I can honestly say I was watching this event and was quite interested. I found some of the matches very massively interested. In case if anybody didn't know the results, I'm just going to go through them very quickly now, which is the following matches there are 6 matches in total, which was which we had Mia Yim, Shotzi Blackheart, and Tegan Nox defeating Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez in a six women tag team match, which I will state was amazing match, and great opening match, one that I would have, definitely an amazing match. Then we also had Finn Balor defeating Damian Priest in a absolute amazing one-on-one encounter, and I can honestly say I haven't been the biggest fan of Damian Priest, but this match was absolutely epic, and I feel as though Damian Priest hasn't had much wins on big events. I feel as though he needs to get some big wins, and hope, fingers crossed, he does start getting some much love that he actually deserves. And I'll be honest with you, I've been one of the people who has been, I'm not much for him, I'm not much for him. But he really showcased against Finn Balor. And I can honestly say, apologies for the sneeze, I will just state, in this match, if Damian Priest won the match, I would have been fine with it. Because it was very, very good. Good selling match. My next match, which... apologies for the sneeze again. I'm wondering if a bit of a slight hay fever might be kicking in due to the amazingly weather that we've been getting. The third match for the event, which I thought was match of the night, it was a singles match for the NXT North American Championship, which was Keith Lee defeating Johnny Gargano to successfully defend the title. I have got to say, absolutely amazing props for this match. Johnny Gargano's entrance was absolutely wonderful, coming out of the door, which I never thought anyway. What was so weird with it is how they used the vignette to almost go straight into it. Amazing, absolutely wonderful, absolutely loved it. But the outfit that Keith Lee wore was absolutely respectful, 100%, and absolutely got to give credit where credit is due. Honestly, I can say, amazing match. One that I would highly recommend everyone to watch, as this was, I believe, match of the night, and some of the stuff that they were doing in this match was absolutely amazing. And good Lord, why, Keith Lee, he somehow makes a moment just from the pounce. Whenever he pounces somebody, moment, instant, moment maker, as he would say. And at the moment in time, I am basking in the glory of Keith Lee with the matches he's been pulling from out of nowhere. Now, the next match, I will say, a great match. Ending was a bit unusual. And I'll be honest with you, I did not see this ending. Well, both myself and JB didn't see this ending coming. And I believe this was the last chance backlot brawl for the NXT Championship, which is we ended up seeing Adam Cole defeating Velveteen Dream, and because Dream lost, he cannot challenge for the NXT Championship while Adam Cole is still champion. This, I have got to say, was interesting. Now, I thought the entrances was unique, and Dream coming out almost in like a Negan outfit was quite interesting and fitting. But I will say, Velveteen Dream has always been unique and has always lived up to the hype. Coming up with new outfits every time that he comes for the big events, and even during a pandemic, he is still doing it. So props to Velveteen Dream. Hopefully, yes, he is not in the championship picture for the time being, but he will be around causing some mayhem for Adam Cole, potentially. So we'll have to wait and see what comes out of that later on. Although we have seen a little bit, but I'll probably discuss some of that next week when JB's most likely back. Next match, I saw this result coming myself, and I believe Macaulay didn't, which was a singles match which had Karrion Kross defeating Tommaso Ciampa by technical submission. The thing that shocked me the most is supposedly this was originally supposed meant to be the main event. What shocked me more than anything in this match is, yes, I predicted who would win. I did not predict the time that he would beat Tommaso Ciampa. A lot of people started thinking, what do you mean? This was the shortest match on the night. It didn't even reach 7 minutes. And it ended by technical submission, as in, boom, lights out. This is an amazing way to put over Karrion Kross. This is saying, yes, Tommaso Ciampa is the Sicilian psychopath, and that he is the man and everything. But by having Karrion Kross coming in and decimating Tommaso Ciampa, basically just turns around and says, there's a new vicious top. I'm on top, and and I am here to stay. So, props to Karrion Kross with Scarlett defeating Tommaso Ciampa in this match. And another potential contender for a match of the night, which was the main event, which, triple threat for the NXT Women's Championship, where Io Shirai defeated Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley to become the new NXT Women's Champion. Right. The result, both me and JB did state when I had the discussion with him that we were both absolutely amazed that we were wrong. We were wrong, and we couldn't be happier. Genuinely happier. But what we don't like is how the fact that Charlotte Flair, in her infinite wisdom, didn't want to go down as taking the pinfall. Really? Really? That's so. I'm sorry, but this I just can't fathom it. The fact that she was the one who put the move, she put the figure eight on Rhea Ripley, and somehow can't get out of it. It would have made a lot more sense for Io Shirai to land on Charlotte, pin her because she's the one who implemented the move, and Rhea Ripley going, "Oh, I can't get out, I can't get out, can't get out, can't get out." But no, Charlotte Flair, you couldn't do that, could you? Why? Because what's your next goal? I've lost my belt. I'm gonna go on to Raw and beat Asuka in a non-title match. Asuka is the Raw Women's Championship. Raw Women's Champion. So hang on. She's gone from immediately losing a belt to, I'm upset. I'll go to Raw. And what makes it more disgusting is people saying, she's lost, so she's going to be gone from NXT. No, ladies and gentlemen. It just means that she's still going to be on Raw fighting for a new championship. She's still going to try and be on SmackDown. And there's even speculation of her being still on NXT. Because guess what? Rematch clause, which everyone's stating. And then she'll probably be gone after. But no. There's rumour has it that she's still going to be on all three brands. Which if she is, for God's sake, stop force-feeding Charlotte Flair down our throats. We shouldn't be seeing her this much. I've heard of pushing someone over, but when you're meant to be having three brands, no one person should be above it all. Should not be. I wouldn't mind. Roman Reigns, right, was being heavily pushed, but at least he was pushed on one freaking brand, not all three. And it's just disappointing in the fact that it's just massively disappointing in the fact that she is having to take over all three brands, taking spotlight after spotlight after spotlight. What makes it worse is the fact that she is taking away from other workers who could be having that chance, who should be having that match. You should be sticking to your own brand. And it's just frustrating because, somehow she's meant to be the hero. She's meant to be the... It's just stupid. She shouldn't be getting pushed this much. And probably people are saying, but she isn't the hero, she's the villain, because, she's getting heat off it, she's getting hatred. But then, here's the problem. It's not actual heat in the sense of, oh, we hate you because you're a bad guy. It's more likely we're hating you because we're seeing you all the freaking time. It's almost to the point where it's go away heat. Go away and come back. And you'll actually be hated in the right form, as in, we'll hate you because you're a villain. We'll hate you because of this. Not, She's going from, I've lost a championship, I'll jump to this brand and get that one. I lost that one, I'll jump to the other one. I lost that one, I'll jump to another one. I know, WWE, you wanting supposedly to have Charlotte Flair aiming to beat her father's record. But the way you are doing this is absolutely disgusting, because you are basically saying, you are going to accept Charlotte Flair whether you like it or not. Really, if this is Vince's idea of saying, yes, I like Charlotte Flair, you are going to like Charlotte Flair, I am telling you to like Charlotte Flair. That is not how it fucking works with wrestling. It shouldn't be one person just pleasing himself. You should be entertaining the audiences. And here's a clue, Vince, for you. Do you know why you're dropping ratings? Because you're doing what suits you. If that's the case. Now, if you were aiming for the demographic as in actually the crowd, you may actually get more fans if you were probably saying, push Charlotte down the card a little bit, have her doing other stuff, have her possibly going for the, I'll tell you this now. The second I saw you tag her with, Tor, Asuka and Charlotte Flair in a tag match on Raw against the, what was it, WWE Women's Tag Team champions, which is Banks and Bayley, and the Iconics, I thought to myself, oh, they're just going to do this cannon fodder for, Banks, have Banks and then that go over. Nope, they had Bayley and Sasha and the Iconics losing to Charlotte and Asuka in a triple threat tag team match, which is really are we going to go down that road? What is more annoying with this idea is the fact that you've just now buried your WWE Women's Tag Team Champions to put over Charlotte Flair and Asuka, and I've got no issue with Asuka being put over, but you have just put over Charlotte Flair again. And then what do you do on that night? Oh, you got a main event. The main event's going to be Charlotte Flair versus Asuka, non-title match, and Asuka just lost again. I understand what you're doing with Asuka and Flair. That's fine. If you're going to be teasing that match and then have Asuka eventually beat Flair, fine. Just do not let Charlotte Flair win that championship belt to then drop it again to Asuka the very next pay-per-view. It is just going to be stupid if you do that, because it just doesn't make sense if you're doing this. You're basically just force-feeding us to say, you are going to accept Charlotte Flair whether you want to or not. It shouldn't be a dictatorship. It should be entertaining for everybody. And the sad thing about it is, at the same time while you're doing it, you are pushing Flair so difficult, so hard down our throats. You are burying your other champions at the same freaking time. The fact that you had, Shirai becoming the NXT Championship, winning the NXT Women's Championship by pinning Rhea Ripley instead of Charlotte Flair, who's the champion, quite frankly, just doesn't make sense. It means that Charlotte Flair was not willing to do the deed. To do the job. Which means if she's not willing to put people over, why is she even there? End of rant. Right. Overall, I thought the event was absolutely entertaining, massive, and for me, I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10 for me personally. I'd say 8 out of 10. It just feels as though the last match that Charlotte Flair didn't take the match took away. I am so happy Shirai did win the championship. It was great, and NXT wrestlers now got the NXT Women's Championship. Massively deserving, needed to happen, and couldn't have happened any sooner, which is absolutely amazing. Now, that's out of the way. And now let's quickly move on to the next event, which is Backlash, or as WWE would say, WWE, the greatest match ever! Backlash! Really, WWE? Really? You are basically... Oh, actually, before we get on to WWE, the greatest wrestling match ever, Backlash, predictions will... In regards to the NXT TakeOver predictions, I ended up beating JB. I believe, I'm just having a quick look at it now, it was overall 2-1 because JB won the 6-women tag team match, which I lost because I picked the villains over the faces, which JB won. I won that. I suspected that Keith Lee would retain, where JB predicted that Gargano. We were both wrong on Velveteen Dream winning. We were both correct on Finn Balor winning. We were both wrong on the fact that Charlotte would have retained. And I ended up picking, Karrion Kross beating Tommaso Ciampa, which JB picked Tommaso Ciampa to beat Karrion Kross. Now, anyway, let's move on to WWE, the greatest wrestling match ever! Backlash! That you're putting in. I'll get to the statements when I get to the main event, which will be the last match that I actually predict on the actual card. I just find it stupid the fact that they're calling it that. And I believe that both myself and JB both looked at this card and just went, there's not many amazing matches on this, is there? And there isn't, unfortunately. Now, it's just has me wondering. Now, unfortunately, I'm just having a quick look at this. And from the looks of it, it appears that my colleague JB has missed the match off. I am going to throw in my prediction for an extra match potentially, but it will not add to the results in regards. So it's only going to be out of the 7 matches that we are predicting, for JB, because he has not been able to throw out a prediction for this match, which is I'll just state it now. The match that the JB hasn't been able to predict is the tag team match for the WWE Raw Tag Team Championship, which is pitting the Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins and Montel Ford, the champs, versus the Viking Raiders, Ivar and Eric. Now, unfortunately, at the time when Law sent me the predictions over, that match might not have been officially on his list. So, my prediction for this match is Street Profits to retain and keep the championship. And at the same time, I believe the feud that the back and forth that they've been doing recently, which is where they've been doing, I'm better at this, I'm better at that, in non-wrestling matches. Unique way of getting over because of the current events. However, I just find it very odd that you got them bowling when technically people aren't even meant to be allowed to be bowling during this time. Whoops. Unless you've got a personal private bowling alley. But anyway, that aside, I'm going to predict Street Profits to be successful. Apologies for the cough. I'm going to predict that Street Profits are going to be successful in retaining the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships because they are massively over. It will be very threatening, but we'll have to wait and see what goes forward. Now, next match on the prediction list, which is a singles match for the WWE United States Championship, which is pitting the champion Apollo Crews versus Andrade with Selena Vega. Now, in regards to this prediction, my colleague has gone for a successful, just having a double check in regards to it quickly, just bear with me, just double checking. Just double checking. Right. Yep, my colleague has gone for Apollo Crews, where, to successfully defend. Where myself, I have actually gone for a brand new champion again in Andrade. Now, a lot of people are saying, huh? But hasn't Apollo Crews just won the championship? I think they're going to make a lot of changes at this moment in time. And due to certain events that have just recently happened, which I was going to be discussing on today's episode, but felt as though it'd be very missed in regards to having JB's input. In regards to the fact that Paul Heyman has been released of being, sort of in charge of Raw, and that Bruce Pritchard is now running both Raw and SmackDown. I can't see where that's going to go wrong. But anyway, I think that I know that Vince is very big on Andrade, and I know that both Andrade and Apollo Crews were Paul Heyman guys, but out of the two, I think Vince has got more love for Andrade than he does for Apollo Crews. So I think Andrade will become the US champion again and defeat Apollo Crews, where JB believes that Apollo Crews has recently won the championship. He will be successful in defeating Andrade. Always good to be different. The next match is a triple threat tag team match for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship, which is pitting Bayley and Sasha Banks, the champs, versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, or as I call, what the hell, Twisted Bliss. It's just, Twisted Bliss, Twisted Cross, could be whatever you wanted. That is an amazing tag team, but and versus the Iconic, which is Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, which is the only three major tag teams in the women's tag team division. And you're already in this match. Hopefully, they should actually start developing some new women tag teams on the main roster, which would be absolutely amazing. It's not like they've got any other tag team, other female tag teams that could potentially go for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. Wait, there's NXT. There is women tag teams down there. Why don't you actually have the belt being defended on NXT? Be a great way of getting more for that belt on. Be absolutely amazing. Will it? Nope, ain't gonna happen. But anyway, we digress. Both of us think that Bayley and Sasha will be successful in defending the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship, which will be a interesting insight because I feel as though at this moment in time it would be too soon for them to lose it. But at the same time, I'd say with the next event being, I believe, I'm just having a quick think about this. I believe the next event is Extreme Rules. They're going to want to save Bayley versus Sasha Banks till probably SummerSlam at the moment to keep them as champs until they are ready to have them implode by when they actually lose the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. That will be when they implode. And because of this, we know that Bayley will not be defending her WWE SmackDown Championship on that show for this event because she is going to be defending the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. Next match is a singles match which pits Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus. This feud has had me massively conflicted because I feel as though WWE have touched on to certain reality and realism a bit. They've pushed the boundaries with Jeff Hardy on this. The fact that they brought some reality into it and some silliness as well. Especially with the fact of having Elias be taken out by accident by supposedly someone doing a hit and run, and how they've been doing the angle of, oh look, it's Jeff Hardy's rental car. He was drinking, supposedly, and that he had driven his car into Elias. Whoa! And then later on, having him basically say to him, "You are clear of all charges because you took our alcoholic test, breathalyzer test." Okay, he's successful past that, which means he was not driving on the influence, but the car rental is still in his name. He should still be a viable suspect to running the lights over. It's in his name. Really? Unless the actually trying to say, oh, there's no prints of Jeff Hardy in the car, but it's in his name. Why would he? Not touching that one until possibly next week when Blaw's back and we can get both our input on that. And the whole angle on SmackDown this week with the urine test, which was just... Oh. It was just stupid because you got a doctor who is on Fiverr.com on the show going, yes, a test that should be taking 2 weeks. We've just done it within less than an hour. And we've used a sample that we've got... we've used a sample from Hardy that was actually thrown on Sheamus, somehow tested. What did they do? Get a swab on Sheamus and go, get it up, get it up. Send it in for test. Not realising the fact that by swabbing Sheamus of Hardy's urine, that the test would be contaminated by Sheamus' sweat. Idiots! But anyway, me personally, I think Jeff Hardy should get the win, and my colleague and JB thinks that Sheamus will, because Jeff Hardy's been getting a bit more up comments on Sheamus. I think the only way they should be doing this is by giving Jeff Hardy the win, simply because this is touching the bone a bit too much and bringing reality. Because take into account you had Jeff Hardy, who has been previously arrested for a DUI and everything, and it's just not a good look. They need to have a good story coming out of this right now. So the only way I can see this going is Jeff Hardy to be successful. But I do think that even though Jeff Hardy will get the win, I feel as though it's going to come out that it wasn't Sheamus who set him up. It's going to be somebody else. But who? But anyway, more on that later, possibly next week, when we actually know what is going on. Next match is going to be a single match for the WWE Raw Women's Championship, which is putting Asuka against Nia Jax. Now, I'm sorry, WWE, but you have ruined any chance of Nia Jax being a believable contender for this match. Because why? Because you've already lined up the next contender beforehand, you freaking morons. And guess what? Who is the next one in line for it? Oh, it's none other than Charlotte fucking Flair. We'll give her a championship match because she beat the champ. So if Nia Jax wins, does that mean Charlotte Flair has to fight Nia Jax? Ooh. No, it doesn't. It means that Charlotte Flair would have to fight Nia Jax in a non-title match and somehow beat Nia Jax, because she would basically lose her current standing. Which is, I know what you're thinking, that's not going to happen, but then WWE will probably just go, oh, Nia Jax won't, no, because Charlotte will beat against the champ, she gets fighting Nia Jax again. It's like, really? Try and get Charlotte likeable more over than Nia Jax? It's not going to work. So at this moment of time, the only plausible booking is Asuka to go over on Nia Jax, most likely submission or some kind of quick win, and then Charlotte Flair come down and make a challenge for the next event, which will be what we think. Both me and myself, both me and Belaw both think that Asuka's going to win this match. Right. Next match. Why are we in next match, which is the 2-on-1 handicap match for the WWE Universal Championship. Does this sound familiar? Braun Strowman in a handicap match for his championship against more than one competitor. Where have we seen this before? Oh, that's right. Hi, Sammy. How's your Intercontinental? Oh, wait, I mean the non-Intercontinental champion now, Sami Zayn, who ended up beating Strowman in a 3-on-1 handicap match for it. But then there's now been stripped of it, and we now have a new champion, which is none other than AJ Styles beating Daniel Bryan on SmackDown, which was done clean. And yeah, you've got a newly minted Intercontinental Champion in AJ Styles. And where's his match? Not even on the card. Why? Because he became the champ on SmackDown. Why did they do it on SmackDown? No idea. Why didn't they wait for the pay-per-view? That could have been an interesting match. And yeah, what makes it even worse is the fact that that match that was on SmackDown wasn't even the main event of SmackDown. It's just stupid. When you got AJ versus Daniel Bryan in a match that is a way to what a way to tell a story. If you're not going to make it a main event, put it on a pay-per-view. If you're going to put it on SmackDown, make it the main event. It's for a belt. It would have meant so much more. Anyway, we digress. Both, it's Braun Strowman versus The Miz and Morrison in a 2-on-1 handicap match. Both myself and Bloor are stating that Braun Strowman will get the winner against Miz and Morrison. Please don't don't make history repeat itself, WWE. Please don't, because you'll just be burying Strowman beyond belief again, and he doesn't need that right now. Oh, we lost to 3 guys last time. We can lose to 2 guys, and then it's just going to be he can lose every week now. You're basically just not doing. It's not a good look having Braun Strowman keep being in handicap matches and making him lose in them. It's the only way you can make him lose the championship. So every time Strowman gets a bout, let's put him in handicaps. As soon as you do it, people are just going to go, "Oh, he's lost that now." It's just silly doing that. But if you want to put Braun Strowman over and make him look strong, make him win this match. Both myself and John Bloor agree on this, and it is one that we think that Braun Strowman will come out on top. Right. Next match, which is the singles match for the WWE Championship, which is pitting the champion Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley with MVP in his corner and that Lana. Is Lana soon to be let go by WWE? We'll have to wait and see. That could very well, or could it be that Lana ends up costing Bobby Lashley the match and being let go? Being let go. We wanted the buzz, blah blah blah. Turn Lana face, have a short-term feud against Bobby Lashley because she made a cry, or just instantly just get rid of it and just sweep her under the rug. That could be most likely what they're going to do. Yeah. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, both myself and Bloor believe that Drew McIntyre should be winning, and we've both gone for Drew McIntyre. He should be getting the win, even though there is speculation of Bobby Lashley winning. If they do that, you are burying Drew McIntyre and doing him a disservice, especially with the fact of he is getting over. He is massively popular, and the fact that he is entertaining as hell. And he looks like a champion. He moves like a champion. He looks like if he hits you with that Claymore, he is going to knock your head clean off. But we digress. We've both gone for a successful defense for the WWE champion, Drew McIntyre. Main event time. Well, what we think will be the main event, seeing as people have been hailing it as the greatest match. The greatest wrestling match ever! Edge versus Randy Orton in a straight-up match. Edge has been kicking off on social media stating, by dubbing it as the greatest wrestling match ever, you are basically setting up the hype way too high, and anything that they do produce is going to fall below that line, unfortunately. You're basically setting yourself up to lose, is what I believe Edge was stating, and I kind of agree with that statement. However, in regards to this feud, if they're going to be continuing this feud, then they need Randy Orton to go over. If they want to bring in a complete full stop to the end and pretty much bury Randy Orton at the same time, Edge needs to go over cleanly against Randy Orton. However, both myself and Bloor have gone for a Randy Orton win. as much as we may want to have Edge win, it's going to be Randy Orton who's going to win, and he's going to do it with a underhanded tactic, and possibly do it in a such a way where he can end up taking out Edge again, possibly. But we'll have to wait and see in regards to if that happens or not. Personally, I think Randy Orton should win by cheating. I think just, without actually causing injury, a grab a tie, a full-on cheat. It'd be good to set it up, because then Edge could then turn around and say, hang on, I beat you fair and square in a street fight, in a all-over-the-place match. And then when it came to the, a singles match, you stated I couldn't beat you fair and square, yet you had to cheat to win. It breathes more. It will breathe more into that feud if Randy Orton wins, and which is why both myself and JB have gone for Randy Orton. And I believe that is all the matches for predictions. So with all of that, that is predictions done. And that's where I'm going to leave this week's episode of The Burning Truth, because I feel as though many of the talking points that I was going to be addressing, which should be addressed with JB here, and there's possibly many, many other additional subjects that we do want to cover. But most likely next week, we are going to be discussing potentially, we could end up talking about the WWE, the topic from last week, which was WWE having workers doing different, being either heel or face, which is what they're not, in roles that they're not normally more known for. Part 2, or we're most likely going to be discussing in regards to Paul Heyman being let go in his Raw role, and in that he's just going to be the advocate for Brock Lesnar with his on-screen persona. And in regards to with Bruce Pritchard being in charge of Raw and SmackDown, will that have an effect in regards to the booking? We'll have to wait and see. And by then, we'll probably have our first week of Bruce Pritchard being in full charge of both Raw and SmackDown by next week, because he will have already done the official first episode. And Backlash will be an amazing way to do a quick reset. And that is where I'm going to leave it for this week. Now, in regards to plugs for this week, I'm just going to state right now, please check out UK Way. I would massively, greatly appreciate it. And, especially on social media, I'm going to recommend you check out, charitable organisations like Change for Health and Wellbeing, Change Recovery Radio, Mind, Message for Mind, and Donna Louise, Hospice Care for Children and Young People, and Cancer Research UK, as the charitable information that they have on them websites could prove massively useful, and could end up providing some information that could end up helping yourself or someone that, you never know. We, of course, also recommend you check out the light side of wrestling by checking out Batchamania. You're welcome, Matthew, and of course, WrestleCrap. You're welcome, R.D. Reynolds, and of course, OSW Review. You're welcome, OSW Review, lads. We, of course, also recommend you to check out, fellow podcasters, broadcasters, and all round amazing people who we know by checking out Paul Pat's radio show, hosted by none other than Magic Mark Adams, and also his other show during the ongoing pandemic, which is Don't Say the C Word. In case if anyone wants to know what the C word, it is not what you think it is. I believe it would be COVID-19 or coronavirus. And he has some interesting topics on there. I also recommend you check out We the Independent, which is with an IE, not a Y, which is hosted by Daily Star and Pineapple Pete, also known as Sugar Dunkerton. And of course, we also recommend you check out Think Wrestling, especially the Talking Wrestling interviews and etc., which is hosted by none other than Tom Baker. And we're not on about the Doctor Who actor. Tom Baker is one of the commentators for the UKWA, and an amazing all-round general nice guy. Of course, we also recommend you check out Hatred Theory if you need to get some things off your chest. If you've got some hate you want to get off, check out them, because they are absolutely great ventilation and do actually bring some entertaining subjects and know how to provide a good laugh. We, of course, also recommend you check out Kayfabe Music, as they do amazing music. just check out the theme music that we've got that plays at the start of this episode, and the full version of it being played at the end of the episode. It was done by them. We, of course, also recommend you check out Turnbuckle TV, where they have not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but 30 to 40 plus wrestling companies on there, with content constantly being added on there all the time for just $3.99, which is almost £1 a week. And on top of that, if you wanted some additional content on there, that is on there, which is being powered by Wrestle Talk and other stuff. You can actually get that for an additional £2 or £3, I believe for an additional £2 or £3, which is absolutely massively interesting. We of course always recommend you check out any local wrestling promotions on their social media by checking out Future Championship Wrestling, United Wrestling, Pro Wrestling for You, Future Shop Wrestling, Academy Pro Wrestling, Fallen Star Wrestling, Venom Wrestling Federation, Slime Wrestling, Wolf and Pro Wrestling, Shropshire Wrestling Alliance, and many, many others. I absolutely love the fact that you've even got Spud even giving massive shout outs to Future Championship Wrestling by even stating on his social media that, that's where he learned more about himself by wrestling in Backlash, which goes to show he always remembers where he began. Props to you, Drake Maverick. 100% props to you, also known as Spud. And of course, I also recommend you check out Babyface Wrestling app, especially for the fact that it's free and it's where you can check out if there's any local wrestling promotions in your area. Yes, we know that there is no shows at the moment in time, but they probably appreciate the follow on there, be it either a wrestler that you support or a company that you want to support. So, they will massively appreciate that. And of course, you can check out our website, which is www.theburningtruthuk.com. You know what's on there. You can listen to current episodes on there as well. And let me just state this for the record: if you go onto the links page, all external links cannot be held responsible for. We cannot be held responsible for, as we do not have complete control. We do not have any control of what content they have on there. Just to point that out. We of course also recommend you check out our social media by checking out our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. And you can, of course, listen to any past episodes of The Burning Truth, be it either on Spreaker, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and these and many, many other sources. And, any lesson that you do for us, we massively appreciate. That's going to be a wrap-up for this week. But before we go, I'm just going to do the usual, as we started the episode, mentioned about mental health, I'm going to do it again to end the show, which is by stating, as what we have always said, it is okay to be not okay. Asking for help isn't a weakness. And just by asking for help, you can end up finding out that more people care for you than you might ever know. And of course, there is always still the quote that I've still got in my head to this day, which is never compare your behind the scenes to other people's greatest hits. Quoted by Tom Campbell from Cultaholic. Amazing guy, 100%, and what amazing words of wisdom, 100%. That is an amazing, powerful message. And on top of that, of course, we also still support the cause for Black Lives Matter. And that is where we're going to end this episode as of right now. So until next week, I hope you all stay well and, of course, stay safe. And please stay safe until the next episode. But, of course, please as we always say, check out your local wrestling promotions, check out their social media. And, of course, just send out a phone call to a loved one, a family member, or anybody you haven't spoken to in a while, because that one call that you do to them could end up proving massively useful and could end up making their day. But until then, I've been Matt Burns. You've been listening to The Burning Truth. And until then, we will catch you next week. Until then, catch you laters.